Good morning, Sunday Schoolers. Today is Thursday, and our lesson will talk about the Lord's Supper, the betrayal by Judas, and the Garden of Gethsemane. Today's memory verse comes from Luke 22, verse 42. Repeat after me, kiddos. Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me.
Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me.
Yet not my will, but yours be done.
But not my will, but yours be done.
Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me.
Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me.
Yet not my will, but yours be done.
Yet not my will, but yours be done.
Luke 22, verse 42.
Luke 22, verse 42.
Awesome. And today when you're done for your craft, what we did is we just made a goblet, found some saltine crackers that will go on the board, or you can make your own loaf of bread or a cracker, and then a bag of gold coins to represent our story. So our readings today come from Mark 14 and Luke 22. The traitor. Every day in Jerusalem, hundreds of people gathered around Jesus to hear him speaking. He liked to talk in pictures about ordinary, everyday things. I am the good shepherd, he told them. The people knew what a good shepherd did. He looked after his sheep. But Jesus explained to them, I am the good shepherd who gives up his own life to save his sheep. The people did not understand why Jesus kept on saying, I will give up my life, or the Son of Man must suffer and die. They kept whispering to each other, surely he's the great leader who will free us from the power of the Romans. Why should he die? No one believed that the Messiah could be killed. All this time, the enemies of Jesus were trying to find a way of arresting him in secret. We'll have to take him by night, one whispered. Everywhere he goes, there are hundreds of followers, said another. Sometimes he prays alone. We could find a special place on the Mount of Olives. It's dangerous. There are thousands of Galileans up there camping in the hills. There could be a riot, and then the Romans will kill us. Just then, as the religious leaders were whispering in the corner of the temple, a man stepped from the shadow. He looked over his shoulder nervously and then approached them. It was Judas. Aren't you one of the man's disciples? They asked suspiciously. Judas nodded. He cleared his throat. How much money would you give me if I took you to Jesus? Would you take us to him? They were astonished. There's a garden, said Judas softly, a special place he goes to pray. The chief priests paid Judas 30 pieces of silver, a huge sum of money. From then on, Judas waited for the right moment to betray Jesus. The Last Supper. The time for the Passover festival was drawing near, so Jesus and his 12 disciples went to an upper room of a house in Jerusalem to eat the Passover meal together. Normally, Passover was a time for joy, celebration, and laughter, when people remembered how God had set his people, the Israelites, free from Egypt. But on this night, they all sat quietly around Jesus, who was very serious and sorrowful. It was evening and the lamps were lit. Jesus suddenly said, One of you will betray me tonight. Surely it can't be me, Lord, said Peter, outraged at the thought. I'll never betray you. Nor will I. Nor I, never, they all protested, every single one of them, including Judas. Surely you don't mean me, teacher, he said. Jesus whispered, As you say, Judas. Then he added, Go and do what you have to do. Do it quickly. Judas left the room immediately. None of the others realized what was happening. I will never betray you, never, Peter banged the table, even if I have to die with you. Peter, replied Jesus, before the cock crows tomorrow morning, you will have said 3 times that you don't even know me. Peter looked at Jesus, shaking his head in confusion. How could he, Peter the rock, do such a thing when he was one of Jesus' closest friends? Jesus took the bread on the table and gave thanks to God. Then he broke it very slowly. The way he did it made all the disciples stare, because he seemed to feel the pain and the brokenness himself, as if a great sorrow were tearing him apart. Here, Jesus offered the pieces to his friends. This is my body, which is given for you. His body, someone whispered. It was so hard to understand. Then Jesus took the cup of wine. This is my blood, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. All of you must drink it. They took the cup and drank, one by one, as Jesus spoke to them of how God had made a new agreement with humankind, promising to forgive sins and show his love to the world. After they had sung a hymn, they got up and left the house to go to the Mount of Olives. The Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus and his disciples went out of Jerusalem, down the steep track into the valley of Kidron, and then slowly up through the dark, moonlit trees of the Mount of Olives. When they reached the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus turned and said, "Peter, James, and John, come with me. The rest of you stay here." His 3 closest friends followed him. Meanwhile, Judas was standing in a courtyard with the temple guard. There were soldiers with helmets and spears, and a savage-looking band of men, all ready to march up the hill and seize Jesus by force. "Be careful," the captain ordered. "Move in silence. No one must see you or hear you." "I'll lead you to the garden where he prays at night," whispered Judas. "Then I'll walk up to him in the darkness and greet him with a kiss." They planned their arrest down to the last detail, and then the troop of soldiers filed out of the courtyard and moved stealthily through the night. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus left Peter, James, and John alone, saying, "Keep watch for me." He knelt down in the shadows and began to pray to God desperately, begging him, "Father, Father, please find another way. Let there be another way." He knew that he was soon to die a terrible death on the cross, and the sweat poured from his face like drops of blood. After a while, Jesus got up and walked back to the 3 disciples who lay sprawled across the ground, fast asleep. He shook them gently. "Couldn't you watch with me for a single hour?" They were ashamed when they woke up, but as soon as Jesus went off to pray again, sleep overcame them once more, and one by one they fell asleep. "Father, let this cup pass from me." Jesus lay on the ground, pleading once more with his Father in heaven to save him from death. But as he prayed, he began to say, "Not my will, but yours. Your will be done." Jesus whispered it into the darkness, utterly alone, while the disciples lay snoring beneath the tangled olive trees. "Your will be done." Jesus went to the disciples and touched them again. "Wake up, my time has come." At that moment, Judas walked through the garden and went straight up to Jesus. "Teacher," he said, and kissed him. "Oh, Judas," Jesus looked at him with deep sorrow and love, "would you betray your master with a kiss?" Suddenly, the crowd rushed forward with swords, clubs, and spears and seized Jesus. Peter swung out wildly with the sword, slashing crazily, and cut off the ear of a young servant. "No, no," Jesus shouted. "This is not the way. Don't you think I could call on a huge army of angels to rescue me if I chose?" He bent down, touched the young man's wound, and he was healed instantly. Then the soldiers hustled Jesus away. At this time with your families, you guys can go ahead and sing our song for the week. We look forward to joining in with you again tomorrow. Thanks.
Bye-bye.